You're listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast series that syndicates for the A-List Online, and my name is Andrew Mackay-Smith. Hope you're well wherever you are and whatever you're doing across this wide blue world of ours. Now, the conversation you're about to tune into, it's with Hansi Kürsch from the German outfit Blind Guardian, and he also does some stuff with John Schaefer from Iced Earth in an outfit known as Demons and Wizards. You probably already know that if you know a lot about Hansi's work. Both outfits are exceptional, but the reason for the conversation is to promote Blind Guardian's upcoming orchestral release. It'll be out on the 8th of November 2019, and it's called Legacy of the Dark Lands. Now, before we get to the conversation, I'll let you know at about the halfway mark or thereabouts, sometime in the middle there, Hansi had to attend to other matters, and then we pick up the conversation more or less where we left off. So if you're wondering what the break is, that's what it is. So here he is, Hansi Kürsch.
I was about to call you. How are you?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Yeah, it's good to finally chat to you, I've got to say. I've been a long-time admirer of the work that you've been doing.
Yep.
You know, so, I just got the message before. I don't know what was going on, actually. I just got off the Skype call with Michael Girard from Swans, if you can believe it. I never thought I'd talk to him, but that's who I was talking to. And now I'm talking to you. It's a really good night for interviews, I've got to say.
Yeah, sometimes things go the right direction. I like that as well.
Yes, indeed, mate. So how are the phone calls with the Australian media types been treating you? Have we been treating you well?
I've been treated very well, very nicely. Very understandable people. People who caught the spirit of the album, which is always appreciated. Yeah. And they were not complaining about me, so all good.
Well, look, let me tell you, okay, in an era when all of the idiots and casual rock and metal fans worship at the altar of Metallica, and yet another failed attempt to blend heavy metal with an orchestra. I don't know why those guys keep at it, because they fail at it. Blind Guardian, you guys are showing the way with Legacy of the Dark Lands. And I know there's a lot of other things going on in there, but thank God for you guys and your artistic vision. And I caught up with Marcus a couple of years back and I had a tremendous chat to him about a lot of the work that you've done up to that date. But the thing that I love about this album, but it can be said about all of your albums, is this, okay? It's beautifully recorded. It's a real triumph. So I really must offer yourself, Marcus, and the other band members, congratulations on a remarkable accomplishment, specifically with this album. But after all, I've said all of that, and of course my own opinion there, and I own that opinion about Metallica. I just feel that way these days. But, you know, you guys must feel as though this album really caps off what has been an extraordinary career so far for Blind Guardian.
Thank you very much. We have a mission. This is how we feel, and that is, spreading our music in the way we're loving it. I mean, we're very passionate when it comes to songwriting, and I'm sometimes surprised that people do not feel the difference in the way, as you said, we record stuff and pay attention to it. We don't hand in anything to our record company before we are not 100% convinced with it. And what is not in our genes at all is to play the safety card. Mm-hmm. We've never done that. Yes, of course, we have patterns. We have a certain way of approach to things. But our main agenda whenever we come up with a new album is to spread something which might not have been there before. And, be it to the liking of people or not, by that, we have widened our universe a lot, not only as persons, but also for the band in general. So our music speaks so many different languages. I have an understanding that not everything might be to the liking of, an old school Blind Guardian fan, for instance, who started with Battalions of Fear. But if you really look into it, even if you may not like every direction we have taken, people should at least realize and admit that they get new stuff. I mean, it is not like we come up with something we have done like 2 years or 4 years or 10 years ago just to make people happy. We really confront them with what music is about, expressing emotions and dealing with the spirit of the time. Of course, I mean, this orchestral album took 22 years to be finally ready for the world, but there is a reason for it. There were really so many little links which needed to be connected, and there's no chance in just, releasing it because there is a need of a release, and, I may need money, or we have spent too much money already, which obviously is the case with that project. But this is not our agenda, and we stick to that.
I'm so glad you said that. You mentioned that it took 22 years, because I'm going to do it again. I'm going to mention Metallica. I think a lot of their stuff is a thought bubble that they, and because they're on such a rigorous schedule, and they're basically corporation Metallica these days, they do things and it's rushed. And I hear that. This isn't Legacy of the Dark Lands. You can hear that it's taken 22 years as a vision to complete. Now, of course, it didn't take that long to record, but I can hear the intent that's there. When I talk about being beautifully recorded, that's what I'm really referring to. And I think what you guys do is all of your releases are landmarks. They're not even moments in time with Blind Guardian. They're landmarks that fans can hold and cherish and get the vinyl edition and then the digital edition and maybe the T-shirt. You know what I mean? They can actually invest in you guys, and it pays off. It really pays off. And because there's so much going on with your music, you feel like as though you really just, as a listener, I tell you how I feel is I'm just really grateful that you guys are doing what you do, because you really are a leading light in that respect. I hope you've been given that feedback from other people before, because I think it's a really important point. And it's an important point why we as fans want you guys to continue to craft music the way you do.
Well, I'm always honored if I hear something like this. I know that we have very dedicated people listening to us, and there is a meaning not only for us to what we have done. There is a meaning to such people. I mean, it's for some of them, it's it's an intensifying tool to cherish and appreciate life, for example, or go through to go through a difficult period in time. And I mean, that's what music is for in general. But I have heard that a couple of times with regard to Blind Guardian, and of course I'm always honored, and this moves me. What I also like is that there are many ways to not only interpret the lyrics, but also the music. And if you really dig into the world of Blind Guardian, there is an endless amount of ways to approach to the songs and to understand the songs. And, that is the difficult thing as an artist, if doing interviews, to explain too much what things are about. I rather like to hear what people feel and, how they relate to it, because as a listener, this is how I grew up with music. I did not really want to know what the message of the song was or what the intention of the artist has been. I was more interested in myself, what the music did to me. And I believe Blind Guardian also is a very good tool for that.
Yep, beautifully put, and... just talking about the album again, so the spoken word narrative, I wasn't prepared for that actually when it came on. I didn't read a lot of the bio that accompanied it with Nuclear Blast, and had it on, and then there was all these words, and it was really nice to listen to. It's the sort of thing that, again, gosh, I was speaking to Michael Giro about this, but it was the sort of thing that I could put on for my daughter. So it's almost an album for the family too. And so my question for you is, with the narrative, what's the story all about? Now, of course, I've read it, but I host a podcast series. So for people listening who don't have an advantage of reading the bio that I did, can you explain what the spoken word piece is doing?
Yeah, I try to make it fairly short. We went the artistic way, the production way was like this. We went back to England and worked with a guy we have been working with on Nightfall in Middle-earth, because for the album Nightfall in Middle-earth, these were very remarkable voices. And we started the orchestral project along with Nightfall in Middle-earth. So we wanted to complete this circle as well. So we went back to England, worked with Norman Eashley and Douglas Fielding and some other artists who have not been related on Nightfall in Middle Earth, but the first two mentioned, they were involved, and I wanted to capture that spirit again. And of course, they have become 20 years older, so they have developed as speakers, etc. pp. But I just wanted to have them involved in the whole project, and they really did a great job in doing so. Give me a second, I have to get rid of the phone.
You're right.
So, sorry, that was
that's all right. No worries.
one thing we just wanted to have accomplished. Another link to Nightfall in Middle Earth. The story which has been told is related to the concept, obviously. We, for the first time, joined forces with an author, a German author called Markus Heitz. Mm-hmm. He wrote a prequel called The Dark Lands, and that is going to be published during the next weeks in English as well. And we both came up with a story which would comfort the music. The music has been composed first, so we had to pay tribute to this, and we decided to go for a historically related tale based in the environment of the 30 Years' War, which was a very devastating, very important war here in Europe, and all the superpowers of the 17th century have been involved in. But we, of course, are making that a supernatural event. The story which is told is about one of the main characters in The Dark Lands. His name is Nicholas. He's a mercenary of that war, and he suddenly awakes on the battlefield with no memory of where he comes from and what he basically is. So what we are witnessing on Legacy of the Darkland is his quest for his own destiny, for his own predestination. Sure. And it's a quest about himself. And he will find out that he is the first horseman of the apocalypse. Okay. And he has been divided by his three brothers by a conflict about mankind. And this basically takes place in the 30 Years' War, which is considered to be Armageddon, the end of the world. And Conquest decides, or he stands for humanity and feels the need that mankind deserves a little more time.
Yeah, wow, okay, very in-depth, but not surprising. You're smart for us.
Just 1 second, my wife is trying to call me. I think that
no, that's fine.
Too much confusion, too much noise here. All my phones were going. I couldn't escape, so I needed just to cross-check and say that I can call back a little later. Well, basically it is about Nicholas, the mercenary, finding out about his predestination and about his way to avoid the final fall of mankind.
Okay, yeah, that's fantastic, mate. Thanks for summarising it like that. And will you be given the opportunity, or will you have the opportunity to take this on the road? Because it's a vast spectacle, really, isn't it? When you're talking about a narrator and then even a small orchestra, that you can even go on a tour of some serious European cities. Is that something that's going to be available?
You're right here. I mean, we have to cope with a lot of problems, and it is for sure a challenge, but we will have to find a solution to do so. It's going to take some time for sure. I would not guess that we are able to be on the road earlier than the end of 2021, because at the same time we're talking, we're already preparing the next Blind Guardian metal production, which is going to take place in the beginning of the next year. And usually a regular Blind Guardian production takes like 8 months. So we will not be finished before August, September 2020. And then after that, we of course need to go on the road anyway for the regular album. And during that time, we will for sure also announce some orchestral shows. But I would not consider them to be realistic before the end of 2021. However, we are maintaining it, be it via some festivals, which need to be Blind Guardian individual festivals. We cannot use any of the summer festivals because there's too much noise and too much buzz going on.
Yeah.
That would not be very supportive for an orchestra. So that is not the way to go here. But either, going into big venues and making it a once in your lifetime experience, or spreading it through some smaller orchestra venues all over the planet. That is something we need to discuss. The second option basically is the more time intensive and maybe the more expensive one, if you look at it.
Mm-hmm.
But for the project itself and its origin, being an orchestral project, the concert halls, the classical concert halls most probably will have the bigger impact. And right at the moment, I'm tending into that direction. But from the performance standpoint of the musicians like me, I need some additional vocalists to do that.
Oh, for sure.
That might be even more difficult because we're talking about a 80-person orchestra, and usually that fits all the orchestra venue stages already. So where to place us is one of the things I'm really concerned about at the moment. But we're working on it, and it's going to happen.
See if you can get to the Sydney Opera House as well, because I know Opeth came down here and they didn't play with an orchestra, they just did a gig there. But this is something that I think, would go down really well there. And I'd travel for that. That's one thing I'd go down to Sydney for, actually.
Yeah, but I mean, if we're talking about classical places like this, which would be a blast to do so, of course. Can you imagine the expenses? Oh.
Yeah, I know. Oh, look, fans like me would be prepared to spend like $400 on a ticket, to be honest with you. And I know people aren't always that invested, but I would be. I mean, it's a spectacle. If it's a one gig you go to a year that you pay for, it's worth it.
That is true. I heard about people paying $400 and going to a Kiss concert or Rolling Stones.
Yep, absolutely.
If something goes along with it, like meet and greets and I don't know, a T-shirt and a dinner, whatever, then I understand. But just for a regular festival show, I think that's a lot of money.
Yeah, there's no point turning millionaires into billionaires, I like to say, at that level. These guys, I mean, your music is life-affirming, though, as we've already discussed, and, you're really adding something. I mean, I don't have anything against the guys in Kiss at all, but, I think we all know why they're playing music in 2019, and it's not about artistic credibility. I'll just leave it there. But
it's sometimes the best, I've burnt my fingers, and it's better to bite your tongue sometimes about a lot of the stuff which is going on.
Yeah, indeed, and look, you are a very busy fellow. I mean, gosh, there's about 4 or 5 things there that you've mentioned going on, but another thing is the Demons and Wizards reissues with John Schaefer. So, How's that been going for you? There's obviously a demand there for Demons and Wizards material, physical copy.
There is a good demand. I'm very pleased, and so is John. We decided, we never really canceled a third Demons and Wizard album. It was always in our mind in doing so, but because of the activities of both bands, there never has been a spot to fit that in. So like a little more than a year ago, we spoke about a realistic term of doing that third album. And at that point, I thought I would be ready with Blind Guardian singing far sooner than I finally was. And so I said, well, from this moment on, I can, keep my focus on Demons and Wizards, and I have some off time before the album is going to release, blah, blah, blah. That all didn't happen. We worked on the orchestral stuff until the very last moment, but I could not get rid of my Demons and Wizards obligation anymore. So John and I, at the same time, started writing songs, and we agreed on doing the summer festivals and the North American tour, which we just finished. Mm-hmm. And by surprise, everything turned out extremely well. I don't know how and when and why, but I survived, and the result is really stunning. The album is going to be finished during the next day.
Okay.
Next week, we have finished most of the mixing in Florida while I was there during the North American tour. Mm-hmm. We're now doing the mastering, and the album is going to be released either in February or March of the next year. And I don't know if we do any additional shows in 2020 because my schedule is already very occupied, and we keep Demons and Wizards a fun project. But the album will be really mind-blowing. It's the opposite of the Blind Guardian album. It's a total diverse Let Your Hair Down album with lots of cool metal anthems and very, very nice, very individual approaches to the music. I mean, it's like from alternative rock to classic rock to really dark, brutal metal stuff. Everything is on there, and I believe people are going to like that a lot.
Yeah. Look, don't tell John I said this, but I much prefer when he works with you than he works with the other vocalists, to be honest with you. I think he's just shines when he works with you. His riffs just seem to work in beautifully in tandem with your vocal.
Yeah, I like Iced Earth. I like what I do with John, and I think it's a big difference, of course, because I have a different approach in, doing verses and choruses in comparison to what John does, and of course I'm different vocalist than all the guys in Iced Earth. But I appreciate both words, and mostly I'm the vocalist of Blind Guardian, and so I'm really happy to have that relaxation from time to time, because that is a completely different approach to production and to songwriting as well. And I really like to do that from time to time.
Mate, it's been a pleasure to chat to you. You're a champion. I was really looking forward to this conversation. When John sent through the email, and as I say, I had a chat to Marcus a while back, but I've been really looking forward to talking to you. I'm from the 90s, I'm 40 in my 40s, so I remember when metal was as popular as wasn't popular. You know what I mean? It was just something that was so distasteful. But you guys were a real leading light through the 90s, and then the Demons and Wizards thing through the early 2000s. And I really admire the work that you've done, mate, personally, and your commitment to fans too, I must say. So congratulations on a stellar career, mate, and I'd love to catch up with you guys when you come down here, whenever that might be.
We will come down, and you might be surprised. Maybe it's with Demons and Wizards before Blind Guardian. We catch up then, and Sydney is a nice city to be in. It's not only... there's so many nice cities in Australia. It's really an amazing place to be.
Come to Brisbane, yeah. I'm in Brisbane or nearby
Brisbane.
to Brisbane.
I've never been there. I've heard a lot, but it's quite difficult to get there for us.
Subtropical, yeah. It's very different to Sydney, I suppose, in that it's a bit smaller than Sydney. But there's a hardcore heavy metal and classic rock denizens here in Queensland, mate. That's the state I'm in. We go to Crowbar or any of the small bars that are around that the band's playing. Not a whole heap of people here get into it. You know how it is with heavy metal in Australia, mate. Yeah. But mate, the people that are, they're like me, man. We're diehards. So man, I can't wait to see you guys finally live. I haven't watched you guys live yet. So either Demons and Wizards or Blind Guardian, I really look forward to that day.
Andrew, we should make that a real thing one day, and it was nice talking to you.
Thank you very much, mate. All the best with everything.
All the best to Brisbane. Take care.
Thank you,
Bye.
mate. Cheers. You've been listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast series that syndicates for the A-List Online, and my name, it's Andrew Mackay-Smith. The interview subject you just heard from was the one and only Hansi Kürsch from the outfits Blind Guardian and Demons and Wizards. Hope you've enjoyed that one. Thanks so much for listening.